This is Pokemon Z to A. We're here on the Nintendo Switch 2. Be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. So this is the latest Legends Pokemon experience, where you basically get to go off into the world. You want to make your own sort of path, your own way, and you kind of get roped into this advertising campaign for a quiet hotel that is not doing very well and has very limited guests. And then somehow you find yourself joining this elite team that's trying to fight up this bracket of Pokemon competition in order to become the best. But also there's a hidden secret of Mega Evolution battles going on, and you have to make your way up the chain in order to basically be able to do these crazy Mega Battles things. And there's a whole conspiracy going on, and it's quite a wild sort of story concept, but also very simple in what its approach is. It's decently long, but I will definitely say compared to, was it Acreus, the previous entry, the scope of this is certainly a lot tighter and a lot more focused within this area. Do I have somebody that does the rock attack? Rock smash. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, you kind of go and you explore this city, and it's very clearly modeled after Paris. It's a circle, and it's got a lot of little fun secrets. It's got a lot of verticality, a lot of things for you to collect, a lot of things for you to see, and quite a bit for you to do, which is rather interesting. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting adventure for you as you work through the story, or just sit around trying to gather and collect Pokemon. Which is quite exciting, obviously, as everyone loves to go and gather Pokemon. So we've got the mechanics and the technology that we had from Acreus, and you are, you know, collecting balls, throwing them, gathering things, trying to catch them all, getting points, evolving your Pokemon, leveling them, renaming them, and personalizing your experience within the world of, well, you know, this landmass, which is quite interesting. So the game on the Switch 2 is actually pretty impressive, all things considered, compared to the base sort of version of the experience, which is quite exciting if you are looking for a more modern Pokemon game. Let's be real, this still looks like something that is reminiscent of the 360 era of gaming. It's not massively impressive, you know, like the sense of scale and stuff is fun and it runs smoothly, but yeah, I think in the modern era, especially with the Switch 2 having a bit more power to it, there should be a bit more of an expectation for the technology to deliver here. Like, I think they should be capable of delivering a more impressive, like technically impressive world, because it's like, it does look really quite dated. I mean, it's cool, but the scope of this is also a lot smaller than Acreus, and it's just like it looks like a decently big map, but when you're moving through it, it's really not that large. Which is a little disappointing, because it's sort of like, you know, you want an expansive world to visit and go through and see things, and it's just kind of like, it looks quaint and nice, but yeah, it definitely feels very, very, very dated from a technological standpoint, which is a bit of a shame, but it's a huge improvement over what we've seen recently from Pokemon, so I guess it's positives and negatives in different kind of like ways you look at it, I guess. So yeah, that's kind of just what we're dealing with here. So it is a, I guess you would say, scaled or temporal scaled 4K at 60 FPS. There are some other improvements over what you get with the base. I'm gonna catch it with a basic ball? No, of course not. Slow poke needs to dive. I actually caught it. I was going to attack it with the Gallater guy. Anyways, yeah, so it's just kind of like a little disappointing because I thought they would do a lot more. Or it feels like the potential to do more is there. Well, we got like all the Pokemon here attacking. That's kind of funny. Don't worry, this creature takes care of everything. But yeah, so we've also got improvements over the Nintendo Switch 1. Would include the likes of, I guess you would say, improved vegetation, some improved texturing. It's got some other enhancements, such as shadow work, and just some other little visual bits here or there. Like, again, it's these Carvanas are hilarious. It's not the most crazy, technically impressive sort of thing, but you do get these smaller sort of quality of life improvements, and then obviously the frame rate is doubled. So, like, you do get the 60 FPS, which feels nice, right? Like, it does. It feels a lot nicer to play this game at the higher frame rate. Yeah, and then draw distance as well. You get a further draw distance, but you still see, like, characters, like, I'll run down the street here, and you'll see characters, like, render in and out, which looks pretty bad when you're actually looking at it, because it doesn't make any sense why these characters are sort of, like, close to you disappearing and then reappearing. It's really, really bizarre, honestly. It is genuinely bizarre. I guess if you're not really paying attention, you might not notice it, but the phantom ghosting of characters in and out is, like, super, super weird to me, but, you know, it is what it is there. And this is Lumio City that we're in, the big circle, and yeah, it's just kind of like a vibin' Pokemon game. Like, the main story is kind of neat. As I said, you arrive, and there's this girl, Tawny, and, like, you make your character too. The males, I think I got a little bit more style, but, like, off the bat, it's a very feminine vibe, but you can go to these places, and you can buy clothing stuff and accessories and things to make yourself look, you know, different, and there's not really limitations for whatever kind of fit you want to have, which is cool. And then you go out and you do this questing stuff. So you'll sort of you'll start in one area, and the goal is to go from Z to A. So you do, you know, you catch some Pokemon, you level up a bit, and then you will be able to go and do, like, a battle ticket. And it'll be like, oh, there's this person that's selected for you, and you need to go and, like, battle them. And to battle them, you need to do the battle zones. So you gotta build up to get a ticket. So you build up to get a ticket at night. These areas become like a battle area. Not these areas, it's like random every night what you get. But there's these areas, and they become these battle areas. And you're just facing off against other people and sort of fueling your combat and your fight. Which is kind of interesting. You know, you're doing your battling, and then eventually you can go off and you can face against your ticket foe, and then you'll be able to, you know, progress. You'll be like, okay, I'm up another tier, and then the story, they'll give you a little bit of narrative, blah, 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 and then it'll rinse and repeat. And there is a point where there is a bit of a big shift, a big jump, and you will find yourself going into a higher competition, and then the game kind of spreads out to these sort of multi-type things. So you'll be dealing with, like, mega evolutionary things, and it all makes sense if you play the story. I'm kind of giving you context without necessarily spoiling things entirely. But yeah, it kind of becomes a battle these sector things, and then, you know, build up your level, and the second of the half of the game is a lot more of like a sort of grind, sort of slow progression thing. And, what? No, I want to sit on the bench. Yeah. Yep, we're going until nightfall, so we can show us some battling. And that is kind of the story progression of it, is you do that. So, I kind of like the story. I sort of like the characters. I do wish that they would start introducing voice acting to the game. I think, you know, it's the modern era. It's kind of annoying to sit here and have to read everything. Like, I guess it allows you to, like, interpret the thing for whatever you want it to be, I guess, but, like, it's the modern era. They should add voice acting. It's It's about time, honestly. Like, it definitely... I think this series needs voice acting, because it's kind of, you're just sitting there, like, reading text, like, walls of text for quite a while, and it gets a little exhausting doing that, because you're like, oh, it's just, like, the same, you know, sort of thing over and over again, and you're just like, huh. You know, like, why would you want to do that? But I think the story is kind of nice. As I said, I like the characters. One of the characters is like a little more annoying than the others, but like you kind of have fun, you have camaraderie, you build up as a team, you face off against others. It would be cool if there's a little bit more of an identity behind the folks you're fighting, if that makes sense. Because it feels like you're just sort of fighting people that pop up. They've got like little funny characteristics in how they show up. It'd be like, oh, this guy's like runs like a restaurant or something, and it's interesting, but at the same time, yeah, it's just sort of a little underdeveloped, and it would be cool if you were learning a bit more about like the opposing factions or something like that. It seems like what this game is could be so much larger than it is. And it's a bit of a shame because it feels like somewhat limited by scope, but it's still like a ton of fun to play. I actually thoroughly enjoyed sitting here battling and playing and gathering Pokemon. It's odd because it's like, yeah, it's simplistic to a degree, and I think it's really quite perfect for the younger ones, but although there is like a little bit of edge of difficulty as you improve, but I'm sure you'll learn if you're, you know, wanting to play, and you'll gather better Pokemon and level up and, you know, sort of grind that out. But yeah, it's just kind of neat because there's so much stuff to this game, like so much smaller stuff, and it feels like it doesn't really fully get used entirely in this one. And it's kind of like, oh, you know, you wish it could go a little bit further in some ways, because I think the potential for this game to be even more is definitely there. And it's just kind of like, it feels a little held back by the scope of the world. Like, it really does feel as though the game is a little too tight, due to the fact... A colorful screw. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to show off that there's all this, like... all this stuff. Like, and it's sort of like, you can see there's all these berries, there's all this different balls, all these different potions. There's all these different mechanics to the game. And I'm sitting here just kind of being like, the scope of it isn't big enough to really take full advantage of the awesome mechanics that this game has sitting there. The research levels that you work on to unlock new, like, attacks, the evolution systems. 10 whole pieces, oh wow, that would be great. Yeah, that'd actually be very helpful. So there's all this stuff, and then there's the mega evolutions, and it feels like, and the combat's flashy, and the Pokemon look really cool. And the core gameplay of like combat and battles is so neat and interesting. And then there's just this sort of almost like bland world that feels really small and tight, and it doesn't allow us to really like live out the Pokemon sort of lifestyle. I would like the improvements of this game, but in like the Acreus type world where you're going to different regions and different places catching the Pokemon. I guess at least the clouds move. That's something I'll give, you know, props to this game for doing. But you kind of get what I mean, right? Like, I like... Like, do definitely understand. I do like this game. Like, it was a lot of fun to play. I was having a great time. I was catching Pokemon. I was battling. I was grinding through it. The story could use a little bit more, like, depth in that, but the characters are cool and fun for the most part. And they've got some neat development going on there, and there's a little bit of a good mystery as to like what's happening. Why is these mega evolutions happening? What's going on? You get to explore and discover that, and you know, there's all this sort of endgame type stuff you can kind of work towards, and it's just like, to a degree, it definitely feels held back by limitations that are a little frustrating, because it's like, I really, really think this game could be, like, this series, like, Pokemon could be so much more if they would just kind of expand the scope of it. And it's kind of like, it is genuinely frustrating, because I'm sitting here and I'm like, you know, these creatures, they look so cool. The evolutions are awesome. When you do the mega evolutions, and there's all these like colors and lights and vibrancy going on, it's awesome. You know, the character models are kind of nice looking. Some of the animations are fun. You can go have like a coffee or a drink, and there's all this stuff to really, really like about this game. And then you sit here and you're kind of like, but, you know, the world that you're sort of in is so limited, and it just holds back from its full potential. And it's a little frustrating, because you're like, ah, oh, you know, I'm having a great time here, and I want to do more. But I guess, as I was saying, it's a little bit too that this is kind of, to a degree, a bit of a spin-off sort of thing, right? It's not like the mainline Pokemon, but at the same time, the Legends games are kind of neat, because they take you these different scenarios and different spots, and like, the city's kind of cool, but I wish you could really go beyond the city. Like, it feels like such a basic aged environment from, again, the 360 era. Like, it's nice, but like, look at the backdrop and stuff. It just really isn't impressive. Like, for a Pokemon game, it's impressive, and I think that in itself is kind of a sad notion, because I think they could do a lot more. Like, honestly, it just... It feels as though they're not... I wouldn't say they're holding back, but, like, the potential to do more exciting things with this is definitely here. And it may sound like it's a bit of a simplistic thing, you know, we're going in, we're fighting Pokemon, but it's so cool. There's so many different, like, different styles to it. It's like, okay, this Pokemon with this attack is good against this enemy. We gotta get out of here. This thing's too strong. And, you know, you can send out, like, you know, your Gyarados, and there's a picture mode, so you can take, like, photos and stuff, and, you know, kind of see, like, the Pokemon, or just why, and, like, show myself, and it's so cool looking, and you get this whole vibe and world to explore, and there's so many different Pokemon to catch, and there's so many little smaller details. And it's like, I just wish these gameplay mechanics were shoved into a larger, more impressive environment. And you would really, like, the potential to have, like, the ultimate amazing, perfect Pokemon game is sort of there with these mechanics and this, like, interface and infrastructure. And I don't even know if it's the Switch 2 holding it back. I really don't necessarily think it is. I think they could do a lot more with the mechanics, and it's just like, they're choosing not to develop in that way, and it's weird, because it's like to a degree, it does look nice, right? Like, it's clean, it's sharp. You got all these different, like, Pokemon, and they all are detailed, and I think there's, like, hundreds in this or whatever. But, like, it's sort of lacking that sort of thing where you're like, oh wow, this is really, I wouldn't even say cutting edge, but like just sort of modern. And that's the biggest problem, is it's like, it just really does not look modern. Even though, like, I know the Switch 2 is capable of more that we're necessarily getting out of it, which is like a bit of a disappointment, but I don't know. It's fun. It's neat. It's definitely different. I think you can have a lot of fun with it. I think you could have a good time playing. I think you'll enjoy going out there and trying to catch them all. And I think there's just so much potential to have fun in this universe, and it's just kind of like I sit here almost like frustrated, and I'm like, one of these days we're gonna really get that like mind-blowing sort of thing. But catching's good, attacking's fun, battles are cool, they feel epic and balanced, and yeah, it was a fun adventure. I think you get a good amount of game time out of it, a good amount of value for what it is. And I look forward to, I would say, that next Pokemon adventure, because this was pretty great. It's just, technically, I desire and crave more, but gameplay-wise, it's solid.